What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. That is Ari. I'm Korea. Look, I didn't have the greatest day in college basketball yesterday, but we finished strong. That's all that matters. Ari, I know as soon as we even talked about it, as soon as we got off the recording, we found out that Mr. Book It with Trent himself, his Mega Max play of the day was the same play you had. Just coincidental, but other than that, I'll ask you, how you doing so far on this Wednesday morning?
Yeah, and he was on the under in the game this morning that's soaring over as well. So I wasn't on that one, but but yeah, Queens just decided to, we'll get into the recap, but Queens just decided to turn into the 2016 Warriors in the first 10 minutes, and that's all I needed to, know it was over. But we still got, some wins yesterday. But we can get into the recap. We'll start with your recap, which you said it wasn't that good, but at least your picks on here, you went 3-1 on here, with your 2 on Grand Canyon. So, but I know you missed some other ones, but at least on here you're 3-1. So, obviously Villanova was tough. I mean, it was a game-winning 3 with like 10 seconds left or whatever. So they were in it, and I think they were up for most of the second half before it went to overtime as well. Or it's back and forth, I guess, kind of. But what did you think of your plays yesterday and how they turned out?
I mean, the only one I really Villanova was tough because they were down throughout that game. Pretty much like that first half, it was really, really bad. They couldn't shoot the ball. They were down by at least like maybe 5 or 6, and I was getting a little nervous because I was like, oh, here we go. Villanova can't shoot the ball again, and then all of a sudden they make a second half surge. They go on like a big run to end the half, and I'm kind of thinking, oh well, maybe this is what I needed, and then they were down throughout most of that second half as well. And then pretty much to kind of end regulation, they go on that huge run to tie the game with the game tying layup. I'm getting out of my seat. I'm going crazy. And then, former Coug himself, TJ Bamba, misses the shot. And then, they go to overtime and, tough. Oh my gosh. As soon as I saw that crossover, I knew he was done. I mean, it was a mismatch. Tyler, I think his name is Tyler Perry, whatever. I forgot what his name is. Had that crossover between the legs, step back 3. I knew it was over. As soon as that shot go in. And then I don't know. The thing that made me upset about Villanova last night is that they had 3 seconds, and I'm pretty sure they had a timeout, if I'm not mistaken. They go up the court. It looks like they're running to the bench to call a timeout, and then they waste a whole second and then decide to go to the basket. And I'm sitting here like, why didn't you call a timeout? You had one, and it looks like you were going to, and then you decided. Okay, Villanova, this team is so much better than their record shows. I hope they figure it out during the Big East season, because my God, this team needs to figure it out. They are much better than their record shows. They're 6-4, but when they lose so badly in terms of just, things could have just everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. So that's how Villanova was. And then the other two, Grand Canyon just got me out of my seat then. I mean, I told you this is going to be one of the biggest atmospheres. I mean, they had people crowd surfing. They were throwing streamers. It was a party. It was a party in Phoenix last night. I mean, I would say you should have gone up there. I mean, you could have gone. I mean, it was a party up there. But in terms of how they played, I mean, Grand Canyon, like I said, one of the better defensive teams, and especially in that electric home atmosphere, that money line was never really a sweat. Obviously, it did get a little sweaty near the end, when San Diego State made a little bit of a late comeback, but it was Grand Canyon from the beginning. They led this game pretty much throughout the entire game, and they came with energy. It meant more to them. Obviously, that was their first win against a top 25 program ever in program history. So that obviously shows, how this Grand Canyon team is going to be. And we're not going to be sleeping on them throughout the WAC conference. They're going to be a wagon. One of the better teams defensively, especially in that home atmosphere. They're going to be one of the favorites to probably win that conference and be the automatic qualifier for the NCAA tournament. So, just showing, how good this Grand Canyon team is. Obviously, I'd say if it's at SDSU, I'd say SDSU wins that clearly. But, it just comes to show, how home court really comes to play a big factor in these games. And, at a neutral court, I'd say SDSU win maybe 9 out of 10 times. But, it just comes to show you home court advantage. And obviously, a really tough shooting day for SDSU. Jaden Ledee and, Trammell, they really couldn't shoot the ball throughout that first half. And then they got to go in the second half. But, At that point, it was almost too little too late. Even with Grand Canyon purposely missing free throws to try to get SDSU back into that game. But, that really wasn't ever a sweat. Grand Canyon outright won by 6. So plus 2.5. We don't even need the points. That's why I even said the money line. So I'll take that as my biggest win of the night. Then obviously going to the game of the night in UConn minus 5.5. It was, I'd say probably more sweaty in the first half just because, UNC was keeping it close. But I knew UNC was not going to be able to compete with this UConn team through the full 40 minutes. And, UConn kind of started to get away with it in that second half, starting chipping away at that lead, starting to expand on it more and more. And, getting that, I think they won by 13 in Madison Square Garden last night, something double digits range. So my minus 5.5 was pretty sweat free. I'll take that. It was pretty much the Cam Spencer show for this UConn team. The transfer, he looked great. He was hitting almost every single shot, especially from 3. I mean, that guy couldn't miss for God's sake. So it was nice to see. And then, this UNC team, I'm not gonna just credit them for losing by 11 to a really good UConn team, but they just didn't really have the advantage, and especially inside. It was just size with Karabon. They also have Klingon, obviously, and they brought back Stephon Castle. They're going to use him more a lot, obviously, but obviously it was his first game, since coming back from injury. So, they're probably going to use him, slowly back into the rotation. But, I'll take a 3-1 day. I am just a little upset. We could have been 4-0, but obviously Villanova just tough losses. But, like you said, Ari, for my full card, it wasn't, what I was hoping for, but I definitely, ended on a positive note. And that's what I like to see, with Grand Canyon winning outright and then UConn covering that 5.5 point spread in our best plays of the day. So I'm going to take that 3-1 day technically as well. Ari, I know the Queens University, more like the Golden State Warriors, yesterday just tried to ruin the under. How else did you do yesterday?
Yeah, 1 and 2 day for me. We'll start off with the one win, the Lakers. It came down to the wire, like we all thought. Tight game, Lakers Suns. They got pretty lucky at the end with I think it was Austin Reeves lost the ball, and they awarded the Lakers a timeout when he didn't have possession of the ball. For what, I don't know how you can't review something like that. It feels like you should be able to review everything that a ref, every call that a ref makes, but. And even then, Anthony Davis ends up missing the second free throw when they're up by 3 with 6 seconds left, and then they're trying to have a hurry up 3, the Suns to tie it, and Durant can't hit a 35-foot 3 at the buzzer. So the Lakers prevail. Definitely some luck. I mean, they were up by 2 when the loose ball timeout happened, so. Who knows what would have happened if the Suns got the ball, because I think it was going to go out of bounds. So I don't even know what would have happened, but definitely got a little bit lucky with that timeout awarded. But Lakers still prevailed. FAU, I thought if FAU was going to lose, it would have been in a lower scoring game. I didn't think Illinois would be able to hang with them in a shootout like this was. But I talked about Terrence Shannon being the leading scorer, and he dropped 33. But Domask dropped 33 as well, 15-21 shooting, which I didn't see coming. Those two scored 66 points of their 98. Obviously, a huge percentage. They shot 63% as a team. Illinois just, but both my 2 college basketball losses were just, unsolvable shooting basically. The Queens Winthrop under was basically chalked in the first 10 minutes when Queens started 6 of 8 from 3. Again, in the first 10 minutes. I mean, they still finished at 170. So it's not like it soared over, but I guess you can't really soar over 158 because that total is so high. You can't really you're not going to soar over that by a lot. But I mean, it was basically over by late in the first half, that play. And then the FAU was down to the wire until the last 3 or 4 minutes, and then Illinois pulled away in the last few minutes, won by 9. But the game was definitely closer than what the final score would indicate. But yeah, shout out to Marcus Domask dropping 33, Illinois shooting 63%. So yeah, tough day in college basketball for me. 1-0 in the NBA. But yeah, like you said, like you've talked about before, with the inconsistency of shooting in college. I mean, it's in the NBA as well, but I feel like it's even more in college with but that kind of goes into the kind of the capping of a play as well. Is the team's tendency of what they're able to score, how well they're able to score, and whatnot. So 1 and 2 day for me, which isn't great, but I didn't see Illinois dropping 100 points basically either. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, I was also on FAU money line yesterday as well, and you mentioned I didn't. I mean, I knew Terrence Shannon Jr. was going to show up. Obviously, he's one of the top scorers in the nation. But I mean, Marcus Dumbask. I mean, I was not familiar with your game. That's all we have to say about that. I was not familiar with your game. I mean, they shoot 63%. It's hard to beat any team that shoots 63%. So this is not discredited to FAU. They also were playing. And FAU, they've had a gauntlet of a season so far. I mean, they've had to play some top teams. They beat A&M. They've had that bad loss, and this is only their second loss of the season to a good program. So, no discredit there. FAU is going to be still one of the better teams in the country. So, especially on a neutral court, showing that only 9 points better. Especially shooting 63%. On a normal, I guess, shooting day. Maybe FAU wins that maybe by a few more points. And then that Queens Winthrop game. Look, I mean, when you start 6 for 8 shooting from 3, it's hard to say, oh yeah, this under's going to hit. So it was just a tough look. But as you mentioned, only got to 170, so it wasn't soaring over near the 190s or anything, just a few points over. But like I said, obviously Queens did show up on the road, so that was the deciding factor if Queens was going to show up with their offense on the road. Obviously scoring 82 yesterday, and then finally the Lakers. As you mentioned, obviously that was a very, I guess, controversial win for the Lakers. Obviously, you mentioned Devin Booker. He posted that play that you were mentioning, the loose ball, the controversial loose ball. He posted that immediately to his story, like right after the game ended. So he obviously had some thoughts to it. So, but the Lakers do prevail off of a clutch Austin Reeves game-sealing 3, essentially, and they do get the win and obviously that's a win for you on the money line. That's nice to see. At least you get one win yesterday. Obviously, tough losses from FAU and Queens and Winthrop soaring over a little bit. But we'll take a win. It's nice to always end with a win. Kind of going in momentum into the next day. We're gonna carry that momentum in today's best bets. Obviously, Wednesday today. I only have 2. Not really that many games I'm liking today. In terms of so many just close spreads and all that stuff. But here are my 2 locks. Today, I'm going to go with Memphis, and I'm taking them -2 against VCU on the road here. And, I really like this Memphis team. And, I like how they played against Ole Miss and, as well, even though it was a tough loss for them, but and I will say it was a true road environment. I like them in this bounce back spot on the road. This Memphis team is one of the best teams in the American, now that Houston is now gone. And, it looks like they're going to pretty much be running, this conference essentially, with Penny Hardaway and the guys that they have on that roster. And Memphis, one of the better shooting teams, they one of the better scoring teams in the country. Their defense is a little bit suspect, but I do believe that they have the star power to pretty much get it done. They do pass the ball in terms of racking up assists, and Ari and I's favorite stat, steals. They average almost 9 steals a game. And that is the key deciding factor as to why I like Memphis in the spot at -2. They average almost 9 steals a game. That is pretty much going to win you any game in college basketball. I mean, obviously, Florida Atlantic was the exception last night, but, Illinois, they did shoot 63%. And I don't expect, this VCU team at home who, is shooting worse, on the year, shooting only 44%. From the field compared to Memphis, just shooting a little over 45%, a little better. So you look at the better shooting team, you look at the better scoring team, you look at the better team in terms of defending and getting steals, and it all points to men, and obviously the better rebounding team as well, because rebounding, second chance points, that all leans to Memphis. I like Memphis in the spot at -2. I think that line may go back up to 2.5. I don't know, but I like Memphis at -2, where that line is right now on DraftKings. That I got it, and then I also like Clemson today at -8.5. I think that line is great for Clemson, especially at home. I think they're one of the sneakiest teams out of the ACC this year. They're going to be a tournament team. this team is one of the best teams defensively. They are coming home and playing, it's a rivalry game against South Carolina, obviously. So, obviously the football rivalry now transitions to the court. And, Clemson, we talk about their offense, their defense, their offense is actually, consistent as well because, they're ninth in the country in terms of three-pointer percentage at 40%. They're 40th in the country in field goal percentage. They don't turn over the ball only about 10 times a game, which is top 30 in the nation. They have all the pieces, right, to be a successful team. They have a great offense that can win especially against Alabama on the road. I'd say that's pretty much their biggest win on the season. Going to Alabama after, not really getting the credit that they deserved, I'd say, and being able to beat one of the best offensive teams, if not the best offensive team in the nation on their home court, pretty much shows. And even in this South Carolina team, look, they're good in terms of their 3-point percentage, but they don't really score that many points. And obviously offense is really hard to travel with, especially in a big rivalry game like this, where obviously the Clemson fans are going to show out. Obviously, top 25 team in the nation, and one of the better defensive teams in the nation. So I like this line at 8.5. I did actually I see it at 7.5, and it grew to 8.5. So I like it there at 8.5 as well. So those are just my 2 picks today. Keeping it simple with the 2-piece. I like Memphis -2, and then Clemson -8.5 at home. Those are my 2 picks. Ari, what are you cooking up for us on this Wednesday?
Yeah, I have 2 NBA picks. So start off with the Thunder against the Rockets -2. The Rockets, earlier in the year, they kind of went on a hot streak and won 6 in a row. Now they've kind of fallen back down to earth. They've lost 6 of their last 8. The Thunder, are generally better at home typically, and the Rockets are a little bit better at home. And this isn't Houston. I think that's why the line is a little bit shorter than what it might seem like. When you think of a Thunder Rockets, you might, think they're going to be like a 5 or 6 point favorite. But I think home court for Houston has to do with this line. Obviously, taking the Thunder on the money line would be safer at -130, but I think that they cover the 2 here. They won their last 2. Obviously, a bit of a break because of the in-season tournament games and whatnot. But I think that they pick up where they left off in their last win over Dallas and the Lakers, and beat the Rockets here pretty handily. Beat the Rockets here pretty handily, and then going to a late night game, Nuggets Clippers. Last time these 2 teams played, which was like a week and a half ago, then the Nuggets won without Jokic, Murray, and Aaron Gordon. Jamal Murray's questionable, but I think even they're gonna have Aaron Gordon, Jokic back, unlike they had in the last meeting between these 2 teams. It's kind of weird that it's even money since the Nuggets beat them without the 3 guys last time, but at the same time, the Clippers are still going to get respect on the line just because of the star power that they have. So I like the Nuggets here to take it just straight up. They're I think they're +1 on the spread. So I'm taking them just to win straight up here at -105. So I like the Thunder to cover the 2-point spread and the Nuggets to win straight up.
Yeah, you mentioned this Thunder team, obviously, and, it's -2 just because, obviously, home court, does play a little precedent in the NBA, and, obviously, Thunder going down to Houston. And obviously, Houston, starting out great, but then obviously kind of falling back to reality, going back, to a little bit under 500. I do like the Thunder -2 in the spot. And obviously, you mentioned the Nuggets, obviously in this road spot against the Clippers. Obviously, Clippers home favorites for a reason, but, obviously the Nuggets, I do like them in this spot. Obviously just the better team, more talented. And that line is going in your favor. I think it went down from 1.5 down to 1 potentially. So, maybe Nuggets money line might be, obviously the right play, obviously, and now at -105. I think those are 2 plays that will cash for you, Ari. So obviously, obviously we'd like to see a 2-0 day for you in the NBA, and then obviously back to mine 2-0 day, hopefully for college basketball with Memphis -2 on the road, and then Clemson -8.5 at home. Obviously, you can find all of these plays down below on our Twitter at AKP Sports Talk. Obviously, we will have all these plays posted momentarily, and the video will be linked down below as well on our Twitter at AKP Sports Talk. But that is going to do it for this episode. That is Ari. I'm Korean. Ari, I know. Tomorrow, you ready for Patriots Steelers? Oh boy, that's going to be one of the worst games that we will ever put money on. But we will have some of the best bets for you tomorrow, as well as some NBA college basketball action all tomorrow. So don't forget to tune in. But that's going to do it for us. That's Ari. I'm Korea. We will see you guys tomorrow.